Hello everybody, welcome back to Daytoday Chess. This is Sabina bringing you back the third world chess champion, Jose Raul Capablanca. It seems that I'm turning around um, in the early 1900s. I don't want to go further. There are so many beautiful games that the first world chess champions and the ones who were top players in those times left behind, that you feel that you just have to show as many as possible, because the ones that are being played these days, everybody's analyzing them, everybody's keeping track of the tournaments taking place, but those we sometimes we forget to look at them because we don't realize their importance. This time I've chosen a game, as you can see, between Capablanca and Bernstein. Jacob played in New York in 1913, really long time ago. But what's cool about this game is I was googling a little bit, and I found out a very interesting anecdote about Capablanca, and it seems that it has been posted in Irving Chernev's book, The Golden Dozen. And let me tell you about this anecdote. It seems that Marshall once asked Capablanca what game he regarded as his best game. And I really loved reading Capablanca's response. He said, "It is difficult to say. So much depends on the point of view. There are three possible types of best games: a fine attack, a brilliant defense, or a purely artistic treatment." Marshall then asked, which of these games he considered what was his best game ever, and he said, "Well, my most finished and artistic game was the one I played against Dr. Bernstein." So I guess this is the one that he played in 1913. In that article, it said that this game was played on February 4th. However, the way I took the game from the Mega database, it seems that it was played on another date. But anyways, whenever it was played, this, according to Capablanca, was one of his favorite games, artistic and everything. So let's just enjoy it together. He started with d4, knight f3, knight f6, e3. Since he didn't want to go for the queen's gambit, he went for more of a call system, but not really, because as you can see, he hasn't played c3 yet, and he hasn't played knight bd2, and a couple of moves later he's playing b3. So it's kind of a different call. Call normally has the knight in d2, c3, making sure this d4 pawn is well protected, and then white prepares to play e4. But in this case, Capablanca is more focused on the center. He already occupied the center with one pawn. Now he's just strengthening the center with the bishop in b2, and then he's going to prepare some Pillsbury type of attack, and we'll see in a second how. Bishop b2, c5. So if white doesn't play queen's gambit, black could try to have some kind of queen's gambit with reverse colors. It's more like a Tarrasch, but it's not really exactly the same because he has a tempo down and white is the first one who can start the attack. And here I like Capablanca's choice, knight e5. So now basically with this knight e5 we say goodbye any kind of e5s. My knight is stabilized in e5. I'm going to play f4 to make sure it's even more stabilized, and planning on some attack on the king side. Capablanca was not famous for his attacks, yet, that could happen as well. Who knows? We don't know what type of game it is, do we? At least not until we see it till the end. Queen c7. It seems like a nice development move played by Bernstein. Now f4. Just stabilizing this knight in e5. And now from here on, white is going to finish his development. b6. Okay, seems quite natural to finish. Black had finished the development too. Some other ideas that could be considered here would be maybe a6 to prepare some b5 and some c4 ideas, because with white having played f4, it's quite clear he's going to start some attack on the king side. We might as well just prepare our counterattack on the queen side with a6. I think this was a more natural approach of the situation, but b6 is possible as well to finish up the development. Castle, bishop b7, knight d2. So far so good, seems natural. And here black had to finish his development. Castle. You might not be tempted to make this move because you're thinking, oh my god, the pawn is in f4, maybe white is going to prepare some f5, what is going to happen here? But there's nothing to really worry about. I mean, f5 won't be played because this knight in e5 is going to be hanging. The way black plays his pieces is really good to stop any f5s for the moment. If white is going to play knight f3, then we can take in d4. And if you take back, now maybe I can place my knight in e4 as well. If I'm really worried about the attack, I can play f5 as well. So this was, I think, a better choice for black. Just finish his development first and see how white would like to react. Maybe after castle, white would try to play some c4 and counterattack the center. This is a possibility as well. And then maybe queen e2, rooks on the c and d file. The position is maybe slightly better for white because of this knight in e5, but nothing special. The pawn structure is about the same, so the position should be about equal. In the game, Bernstein made a mistake, a big mistake. Knight e4. Maybe he thought he can trade some material and just go towards maybe draw endgame, but this is a mistake because after knight takes e4, and even maybe Capablanca could have even captured in e4 with the bishop, and after capture, now maybe knight takes d7, queen takes d7, and here knight c4. This was another possibility because now when this diagonal is going to open, look where I'm looking at, you haven't castled yet. I can threaten of taking your bishop. Bishop a6, for example, I don't care about the knight, maybe I can play queen g4. You know, just getting more active on the king side, specifically utilizing the fact that you didn't castle. But Capablanca took with the knight. It's very good as well, capturing with the knight. So that was a big mistake from black, this knight e4. D takes e4, and here bishop b5, another very good move, utilizing the fact that your knight in d7 is pinned. If you guys remember, one of the first games that I did, in fact it was my second video, I showed a very similar idea that I played myself this summer against a Dutch player. I also had this idea with bishop b5. Okay, not as beautiful as Capablanca, I totally agree. I'm nowhere close there in my own chess, but these ideas of utilizing the fact that your opponent still has the king in the center and the pieces more passive, this bishop b5 utilizes those ideas. And now how to defend the knight. You have to take in e5, you can't play bishop c8. Bishop c8 I can just play maybe d5 here, or even bishop c6. I mean, everything would be winning. You still can castle, I'm going to take in e6. This position is just super winning for white. So black had to take in e5, and here I was surprised that Capablanca didn't capture back with the d pawn. I would have captured back with the d pawn with the idea that, okay, I'm still keeping your knight attacked, I'm opening my queen, I have some queen d6 ideas. If you play bishop c6, for example, I can play a4. If you remember Alekhina's game 2 days ago, this a4 stabilizing the position, taking in b5 would be not such a great idea. I mean, probably the only chance, but now we've got a7 weak, your knight is stuck. This position is just really good for white. This pawn is going to be lost. He captured with the f pawn, and now he's giving away this opportunity of getting the queen more active, and doesn't force the trade of the bishops. So black castled here, and he still has some advantage, but I think the other one was definitely much more advantage for white, capturing in e5 with the d pawn. Now bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, d takes e5. You're forced to trade the queens, otherwise, you know, you just lost the pawn. Queen c7 was a possibility, and then maybe after capture back, but I can play c4 in this position, and I have one pawn up with white. It looks like I have two, because these are quite blocked on the king side, and now I have technically 3 versus 1. So this position is really good for white, but if black manages to trade some pieces and get different color bishop endgame, maybe he has some chances to save it, but it's going to be quite hard. In the game, queen takes d1 was played, rook takes, and from here on I just want you to enjoy this beauty that Capablanca played. No wonder he thought this was one of his best games that he has played. Rook f2 d8. Now, of course, we are capturing in b6. I mean, if you don't play rook d8, rook is getting active in d7. I mean, you cannot capture here because simply rook d7, and you have some troubles finding a good spot for the bishop. c5 is going to be lost eventually after rook c7, bishop a3. So rook f8 had to be played. In fact, Bernstein would actually want to trade some rooks because maybe he has some chances in the different color bishops endgame, possibly. That was probably in his mind. Takes. Now, of course, we don't want to give away this pawn, so a4, very good move by Capablanca. Rook d5, thinking, okay, now I'm going to blockade the file, you will not have entrances anymore, maybe have some chances. But no, not at all. This is a little bit weak. Rook d4. Now you definitely don't want to trade. Just imagine bishop takes d4, that pawn is hanging, this rook is going to be active. This position is simply so winning for white. So of course Bernstein didn't want to trade the rooks. He came with the king towards the center. In endgames you're supposed to do that. But now c4, forcing some move with the rook on d5 because, we want to get our rook active, and this rook in d5 seemed really stopping of white's plan to get this rook active. So of course black had to go rook d8, and here Capablanca could have possibly played maybe bishop c3, maybe double on the d file, bring the king, just go slowly, but he preferred to just make things happen much faster. Rook takes, now bishop d4, keeping the d file closed, so no entrances for black, and going for the other weakness of blacks. This is so terrible. Black only made one mistake technically, that 94, after which the position just collapsed. Even with white's capture with the f-pawn, I would have said, you remember, d takes e5, but even so, white didn't do very much. Just, pieces just were placed on the best positions, and black got scared. He tried to activate the knight, tried to make trades, and this is what happened. Bishop c6 with the idea if you capture in b6, maybe I could have some rook b8, but rook b8 doesn't work because there's bishop c5. So then Bernstein decided, oh, I'll get active in d3. Unfortunately, you don't do much because now rook b1, simply defending. I'm not giving you any chance. I have 3 linked passed pawns. What more can I want from my position? a5. Now Capablanca is just going with the pawns to queen. Rook c3, bishop d4. I'm not giving you anything. Rook c2. Where do you want to go with this pawn in e4? There's no way the rook can get any kind of counterplay. So Capablanca is just pushing. a6, b4. Another pawn is getting ready to go b5. I guess Bernstein made the last move before resigning. Rook takes e4, but there's nothing to be worried about. I gave that purposefully to play b5 now, and these pawns are just going for a queen. Such a gorgeous game by Jose Raul Capablanca. No wonder he really thought this was one of the best games that he has played. Make sure you stay tuned, like usually tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.